to judge the world. 1914, Stephen Nelson Haskell, Cross and Shadow, page 212, paragraph 6. No mirror ever portrayed the features of the face as accurately as the books of heaven has portrayed the life record of each individual. All are judged out of those things which are written in the books, according to their works. Stephen Nelson Haskell, Cross and Shadow, page 213, paragraph 1. And so once again here, the high priest is officiating in the Day of Atonement in front of the Ark of the Covenant in heaven, which is Christ, officiating for us, saying, "Hold still, my blood, my blood. Do not close probation yet. Probation soon will close." Behold the scene, the Father is seated on the throne of judgment. The angels of the ministering spirits, those of cases, are to come and review before God. Stand ready to obey commands. The books are opened, but there is something yet lacking yet. Dan's attention is now attracted to the clouds of heaven. Myriads of angels bearing the Savior in before the Father in triumph. Earthly soldiers are often borne in triumph on their shoulders. Commanders who have led them to grand victories in fields of blood and carnage. Christ the Archangel, the commander of the host of heaven, has led the angels in many battles. They fought under him when the archenemy of all righteousness was cast out of heaven. They beheld their commander die an ignominious death to redeem the lost race. They had sped quickly at his command to save as many souls from ever being overcome by Satan. Time has now come when Christ is to receive his kingdom and claim his subjects, the angels who love to bear their mighty commander in heaven before judgment seat. Whereas the books revealed one life record after another. Christ confessed the name of every overcomer before the Father, before the innumerable company of angels. 1914, Stephen Nelson Haskell, The Cross and Shadow, page 213, paragraph 2. God's throne is a movable structure. He, as in the type of his visible presence, was manifest in the outer apartment of the earth's sanctuary. So in the heavenly, his throne of God was in the first apartment. When Christ ascended and sat at the right hand of his Father, but Daniel saw not only the Father and Christ changed the position, but the position of the throne was also changed when judgment was set and the books were opened. Type had met antitype. The high priest in the heavenly sanctuary entered the most holy place. As in the type, God promised to meet the high priest in the most holy. So Father passed into the Holy of Holies before the high priest, and was there when the angels bore Christ triumphantly in before him. The Cross and the Shadow, page 214, paragraph 1. The earthly high priest represents the blood atoned for the sins of the people. A high priest pleads his own blood. Father, my blood, my blood, my blood. The earthly high priest carried the censer with the fragrant incense. Christ presented the fragrant rights of his own character, which imputes to everyone whose sins are all confessed, and covered his blood. When the names come up in review before the great judge, in the earthly sanctuary, the high priest paused in the first apartment and touched the horns of the altar, the horns of the golden altar, to cleanse it from all sins that had been transferred to it. For while the service of the Day of Atonement was going forward, if one remembered unconfessed sins, he could still bring a sin offering and be forgiven. So while the high priest officiates before the Father in the investigative judgment, anyone who realizes he is a sinner can come confessing his sins and be forgiven through the merits of Christ, the great sin bearer. Read Cross in the Shadow, page 215, paragraph 1. A high priest, when his work is finished in the inner apartment of the heavenly sanctuary, will tarry a moment in the outer apartment, that sins which have been confessed while he was in the most holy place may be taken, together with the sins of the righteous of all ages, and carried forth without the sanctuary. The Cross in the Shadow, page 215, paragraph 2. When Jesus pleads as our high priest, there is hope for every repentant sinner. But when he last comes forth from the sanctuary, mercy's door will be forever closed. There will be no intercessor then. In the type, when the high priest came out of the sanctuary, he had made an end of reconciling. When the high priest comes forth from the sanctuary, he will proclaim, "He that is just, let him be unjust still. He which is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. He that is holy, let him be holy still." Every case is decided for eternity. Probation is forever ended. All who wait until that time, hoping to be saved, will find no one to plead their case before the Father. They will be eternally lost. mercy. So whatever state when Christ is finished reconciling whatever state you're in, whether you're righteous or filthy, you're going to remain that way, and you'll be eternal. Some of those that don't want to be changed or be converted, they'll be eternally lost. So help us, Lord, that we may not be eternally lost, that we may be saved and confess everything, and love you with all our hearts and obey you, all 10 commandments, and all the Bible. In the type, after the high priest had finished the work in the sanctuary on the Day of Atonement, he came forth bearing the sins of all Israel, and placed upon the head of the scapegoat. The scapegoat had no part in reconciling the people to God. The work of reconciling was ended when the scapegoat was brought forth to act his part in the service. The only work of the scapegoat is to act as a vehicle to carry the sins of the righteous into the lands of separation. The term scapegoat has become a synonym of an evil one, Azazel. The Hebrew rendering of scapegoat is a proper name, as understood to represent the devil. When our high priest has finished his work in the heavenly sanctuary, he will place all the sins of the righteous which he had borne thus far upon the head of Satan, the instigator of sin. Satan would then be left upon the desolate earth, a land not inhabited, for 1,000 years, at the end of time, which he will be burned to ashes in the fires of the last day. In type, after the high priest had placed the sin of Israel upon the head of the scapegoat, he left the robes worn while officiating as high priest in the sanctuary and put on other garments and began to work in the court. So there's a change of garments, change of clothes. He had the bodies of the animals which blood had been carried to sanctuary, taken without the camp and burned. At the close of the day, ashes were the only thing seen of the sin offering. Christ in the Cross and the Shadow, page 217, paragraph 1. Our high priest had laid aside his priestly garments, and clad as King of Kings, he rides forth a mighty conqueror to gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and he cast them into a furnace of fire. Christ comes to set in order the antithetical court, this earth. When the great antithetical Day of Atonement ends, nothing will remain that will in any way be a reminder of sin, except the ashes on the feet of the righteous. Cross in the Shadow, page 217, paragraph 2. The word atonement means at one meant. When Christ pronounced the decree which determines eternal destiny of every soul, he and the scepter of his kingdom are at one meant. Sin will never again separate Christ from his people. Cross in the Shadow, page 217, paragraph 3. But the territory of his kingdom is still cursed by sin. So at the one meant of Christ, his kingdom will not be complete in every sense of the term. Until the fire of the last day, there comes forth the new earth of every mark the curse removed. Then not only the subject of Christ's kingdom, but the entire earth will be at one meant with Christ and the Father. Sin will never again rise to mar the earth. It will be the home of the redeemed forever. Cross on chapter 217, paragraph 4. Type versus antitype. Type. Leviticus 16, verse 29 and 30. On the 10th day of the 7th month, the sanctuary was cleansed. Daniel 8:14, antitype. Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So, and that started in 456 BC. It ended in 1844. Leviticus 16:15 to 19. The sanctuary is cleansed, which is type. For example, the sanctuary is cleansed, the sin is removed by the blood of the Lord's goat at the end of the year service. Antitype, the reality, Acts 3 verse 19 and 20. Sin will be blotted out of the heavenly records near the end of Christ's work as high priest.